Welcome to the FL Solidity team call. My name is Marisa Maggio. Super excited to be on with you guys today, September 7th, 2023. So we're officially going into week 2 of 4 of September. September is a 4-week turn-in. So any business that we're hoping to issue out in the month of September before going into the 4th quarter and or for the cruise trip, we want to make sure that that business is issued and paid by September the 27th. So if you're looking for a goal and you're like, I don't even know where I'm at for the cruise, reach out to us. Again, like Christina said, we'll help you get your numbers. But without further ado, we do have a very special guest on with us today. Somebody who I met a lot more recently, but seems to be killing it with helping agents in terms of script and particularly with telesales. I'm not going to steal his shine or story, but Pablo Perez, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being on with us today. We're super excited to have you. And just to kind of get the call going, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of what you were doing before Family First Life and what got you involved with Family First Life.
Sounds good. My story is kind of interesting because you guys all know Stephen Yee, right? And Trey Honeycutt, obviously. I was Stephen Yee's first ever recruit in this business. So when he got started, he called me up. At the time, I had a credit repair business that I was running. And obviously, I was helping people restore their credit so they can buy a house. He calls me up out of nowhere and says, hey, have you ever heard of mortgage protection insurance? I said, what's that? He's like, hey, it's an insurance where they'll pay off your mortgage. And if you don't use it in 30 years, you get all your money back. And since you do credit repair and you're helping people with houses, this might be something that would be a good fit. And I said, can you make money doing it? And he said, of course. And I said, oh, that sounds good to me. But at that time, I decided to get started with him. So I was his first recruit ever. And I was selling it here and there at the time because I was, like I said, I was busy with the credit repair business. But at the time, I was also transitioning into Amazon, and I had an e-commerce business. And I remember when Andrew Taylor's agency was doing about $150,000 in volume at that time. I mean, they were a small agency. Everything was small. FFL in general was small. So that's how long I've been in FFL. I just never really took it serious at that point in time because when I got into the e-commerce business, I saw that I could make $30,000, $40,000 a month there. So to me, I was like, hey, if I could do it like this passively selling on Amazon, I'm more than happy to stay on and continue doing it. So I put insurance on the back burner. Come 2018, my wife and I were expecting our first child. And at that time, e-commerce, I started to experience the downside of it, right? There's also returns. There's also chargebacks in e-commerce. People start returning things. Business started to go a little bit downhill. And I got a little nervous having a kid come on the way. And I told my wife, hey, I think I need to look into this insurance thing a little more seriously. So then that's when I really started to take it a little more seriously. I started working that business or this business, I would say 2 days a week. And I noticed I was making about $9,000 or $10,000 a month. I was doing face-to-face at that time. There was no mortgage protection available. Just so you know, back then, guys, you guys are so fortunate. And I tell you this humbly, like, you guys have so many lead vendors. Back then, it was either mortgage protection mailers or Facebook Final Expense had just launched. So all I was working was Facebook Final Expense at that time. And it was driving in Los Angeles, Southern California. And it drove me nuts. But even though 2 days a week, I was able to generate about $9,000 to $10,000 a month. So I told my wife, man, this is real money. Like I can see myself doing this. So I started to recruit and I started to hire agents and I just started to dive in. But then I got this bright idea to move to Texas from California because when we had my daughter, I was like, I'm in the field all day. I'm leaving the house at 7 in the morning because in California, I don't know if you guys have ever been to Southern California, but the traffic is crazy. So I was spending my mornings leaving at 7 in the morning to get to my appointments at 9 a.m. because I had to drive away. And then I was getting home around 7 p.m. So what happened for me was I was like, I don't want to live this lifestyle. I don't want to live like this. I want to be able to experience my child. It's my first baby. So then I got the idea, hey, let's move to Texas. So then we started scouting Texas. Then we decided to make the move to Texas, and then I got in an accident, and then I got rear-ended. I'm telling you guys some story because, like I said, I was Stephen Yee's first recruit. So then I got an accident, sidelined me for about a year. And at that time, my e-commerce business was really skyrocketing down. It was just going downhill. And then COVID hit, and that just really took out the e-commerce business. So I really decided at that point in time to start selling insurance over the phone. So 2020, I started selling insurance over the phone. And, here we are today. We have a small agency, FFL Fortitude. And yeah, it's been an interesting journey for me, just because I know those guys when they were, their agencies were small, and to see where they're at and to see the opportunity here with FFL, like genuinely the best opportunity I've seen. I've been pitched all the opportunities. I've been pitched all the MLM companies, all the insurance companies. At the end of the day, Sean's always had that fire in him since those small events we used to have back in Victorville. They used to have these hotels, and there was only like 20 agents at these meetings. I mean, it was crazy how big the opportunity was. I didn't realize it. Never thought about the financial services industry because I was busy chasing the e-commerce lifestyle, right? I wanted that e-commerce beach style lifestyle, right? But now here we are. We have an agency, FFL Fortitude. And my favorite thing about this whole business is being able to help people make that kind of money, because to be honest, where else can you take someone who's never made $10,000 plus a month and bring them to an opportunity where they can get a taste of that for the first time in their lives? So that's where we're at. That's kind of been my journey here. Serial entrepreneur, done the e-commerce stuff, but I realized at the end of the day, if I really want something long-term, sustainable, that's going to be there through the ups and downs with the economy and be able to be recession-proof, there's no better industry than the insurance industry.
Absolutely. And Pablo, that's quite the story. I had no idea you were Stephen's first recruit, but it also goes to show timing is everything, right? It wasn't the best time when you came in, so to say, but through you growing it throughout your life, through your family, having your first child, and then also, the accident, COVID, all this compounding, it brought you back to the insurance industry. And I love how you're talking about like, hey, I was here when Andrew's group was helping 150 families a month, which is crazy to think about. But it's like, guys, put yourself in those shoes. Like you might have a group that's helping 50 families a month. Like Andrew wasn't that much smaller, not that long ago, right? So Pablo, I love that. I love your story. I didn't know all that. And now it makes sense to me too, why you help. But the first thing you said to me when we spoke on the phone, and it really stuck out to me, you said, I like helping. I'm predominantly help agents in terms of script training so they can be better. And that stuck out to me because not, as you probably have seen in the industry, Pablo, not everybody actually cares about agents. Like they don't care if they're doing well or not. And you talk a lot about script training. And I think that that's really important because it's a way also to kind of boost somebody's confidence just through a piece of paper and through repetition. So talk to us a little bit about the importance of scripts, and more importantly, training new agents, with scripts, kind of the mindset behind that.
So I'm going to talk to you guys about that because it's something that I really know very well. So while I was going to college back in the days, I started in the collection agency world, and believe it or not, I realized really quick, and so did management, that I was very good with word tracks on the phone. And I was able to make money while I was going to college and getting commission checks on the phones. Then I got promoted to management. And then when I graduated from the university, I went into the IT world, not realizing, whether I wanted to do it or not, because it turned out I really didn't like the IT stuff. But I was working at a call center. And so anyways, I ended up being in management for that particular call center that I was working IT for. And then I just stayed in the call center world for a long time. So then I worked for that. IntelliRisk was the name of that company. Then I went and transitioned into another company called Hyundai, right? Everybody knows who Hyundai is. And then I went to a medical company where we did front-end collections for a lot of the hospitals. And every single place, including the sales positions in between, because I was always trying to, come up with sales. I love sales. Everywhere I went, there was scripts implemented. And the one thing that I learned from all my years running call centers and training, being a trainer in a lot of these call centers, was that it's easier to dissect the problem when everyone is using the same script versus trying to train 30 different agents on 30 different scripts, right? Every call center has a script and they tell you to follow it. And every call center also has what they call quality control or Q&A, right? And what they do is their job is to make sure they listen to the calls, that you're following the scripts. And then if not, they pull you in and they train you on that script because they know those scripts work. So the job is how do we maximize everybody's effort? We put a good script together and then we can pinpoint from that one script why people aren't selling. Because everybody, and I tell you this because the biggest thing about a script is it gives you guidance and it gives you structure. And that's what I'm going to share with you guys, my script that I've used, period. It gives you guidance, it gives you structure on the call. Because one of my biggest complaints, right, is that let me rephrase that. The best thing about FFL is that there's a lot of good information. The worst thing about FFL is that there's way too much information, and a confused mind does absolutely nothing, right? And they start grabbing things from here and there, and they never really stick to one particular script. And that's a problem because if you're an agency owner or if you're bringing agents on board and you're trying to help these people, imagine trying to pinpoint all the problems in their scripts or on the phones when you have 30 different agents with 30 different scripts. But if you have one script and all 30 are using it, it's easier to pinpoint the problem and and how to fix it, right? So that's the importance of scripts. And I got that because for being in call centers, everybody had the same script. When you walked in, they all sound the same, right? Scripts work. So that's kind of why, I took the script that I was using during COVID and some of the experience I had doing the face-to-face sales, and I put a script together, and that's what I really want to share with you guys. My script is very simple. It's going to take some of the objections right off on the front end. And really the goal is, and this is numbers. I love how Rami was saying this is all a numbers game, right? So here's what I tell the agents when they come on. If you can get through this script from the top to the bottom 5 times a day, you'll sell one every day. Amen. Because it's mathematically, we've already ran the numbers. You guys know Jonathan Avila, right? He's part of the FFL Fortitude family. Me and him, I taught him a lot of the stuff on the phones. He picked it up. He made it his own, but he knows the numbers. You pitch it 5 times, you're going to sell one every day. And that guy puts in 3 or 4 apps every day over the phone. So the goal is you got to give new agents structure, and you got to help them take the objections in the script off in the front end so that they don't have that problem on the back end. But yeah, that's the importance of scripts.
Beautiful. And I think that's, like you said, all of that is really important. And like you said, it's a lot easier to help somebody when you're going off of one script versus if you're going off of the one that they picked up off of ABC website and they're like, well, I just thought this one fit. It's like, well, rock with the one we gave you. There's a reason for it. And also guidance and structure. I think that's really important. And another thing you brought up, Pablo, was taking the objections off the table on the front end. Now, in the home, for me, that's something I'm like, now I'm really good at it. I wasn't always really good at it, but telesales, like we all can see in terms of social, bank information, things like that folks are getting kickback on. I'm sure that's kind of what you're going to hit around in different avenues there. So without further ado, Pablo, if you don't mind, let's just role play this thing because I'm excited.
Well, if you don't mind, I'm actually going to share and this is final expense. And the reason I'm going with the final expense script is because most new agents, that's where we should start them because it's the easiest to learn. I think everybody should start with final expense if they're doing telesales because it's easier. Mortgage protection, you should work your way up to it. It's not even that much more complicated. It's just packaged a little differently. And I have a script for mortgage protection also. And it's funny, we'll go through the script, but I want to share my screen if that's okay. And we're just going to read through it, and I can kind of share the psychology behind it, as opposed to going through the role play, if that's okay with you.
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right, cool. Give me a sec. Can you give me permissions to share my screen?
Yes. Christina, do you know how to do that?
I think if you go under sharing options, or
There's a
share
little
screen,
green
and
button
it
at
should
the
have
bottom that
options.
says scripts, share screen, a little green button next to chat.
So if there's grammatical errors, I'm sorry, I'm not an English major, but there we go.
Okay, perfect. I was gonna say it should be working. Cool.
All right, so I'm gonna this is how I broke it down, and it's very simple because any new agent can come and grab this, and actually they'll underwrite in this whole script through the whole process. So hello, so in this hello, John. Hey, John, this is Pablo. I'm getting back to you regarding the request about the state-regulated low-cost final expense program. I'm showing here you listed your daughter as your beneficiary. And my job is to provide you that information that you requested. And I'm showing you have your birthday listed as 12/15/1960, putting you at 63 years young. Is that right? And I always give two facts. And then I ask the question, am I correct in that information? Because when you give two facts in the beginning, they know that they really did fill out that information. Otherwise, how did you get that important information, right? And then my next question is going to be this. So what made you fill out that form? Right? So what made you fill out that form? And then I'm going to suggest a few reasons why. Is it because you currently don't have anything in place? Or did you have something, but you realize you need a little bit more? Or will you just want to leave a little extra behind? Right? And I'm going to make them answer. And guess what? They're always going to answer. And once you know which one they're looking for, you kind of know what you're dealing with. If someone says, I have something, but I want more, you have a buyer on your hands, right? It gives you the opportunity to know you got someone who already believes in insurance. They have some insurance. You're just calling to sell them some more. But they're always going to answer to one of those three. So I'm going to go into this middle part, and I'm going to tell you where I came up with this, okay? So when I was running Facebook Final Expense, when they first came out face-to-face, it was very hard to sell to a lot of these people because they were on fixed incomes, and California is a very expensive place to live, okay? So with that being said, I was like, well, how do I, and they would sit down with agents all the time because the mailers say state regulated. And I was like, well, I don't even know what the heck state regulated means. I was new at the time. I was like, what the hell does state regulated mean? Like, I don't know what that is. So I made something up. That is what I did. I was like, I'm going to attach a meaning to that to separate me from all the other agents coming into the house. Okay. So what I say is, so let me explain what state regulated means. We have 100 companies participating in these low cost programs. And then I say, which number one means they're the most affordable in the state. Number two, you cannot be denied coverage due to any health reasons. So I'm already taking some objections away. I'm going to probably be the cheapest. And I have guarantee issue products. So I can take almost anybody, right? So that's kind of what I say. Also, John, everything is non-medical, which means you don't have to take any medical exams. And a lot of times with some of the carriers, and I like to say like it's an exclusive product. With some of our carriers participating in our programs, we can get an answer in 72 hours or on the spot, which is really convenient for you, right? And at that point in time, and if we just read through this whole script, we'll go through it right now really quick. So hello, Marisa?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Pablo. I'm getting back to you regarding the request about the state regulated low cost burial expense program. And I show here you listed your daughter as your beneficiary. And my job is just to provide you with that information that you requested. I'm showing here you put your date of birth as 12/15/1960, making you, what, 63 years young? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, what made you fill out that form? Is it because you currently don't have anything in place? Or did you already have something, but you feel like you need a little bit more? Or you just want to leave a little extra behind for the family?
I think just leaving a little bit extra behind.
Okay, perfect. Well, let me explain what state regulated means. That means we have about 100 companies participating in these low cost programs, which means number one, they're the most affordable in the state. Number two, you can't be denied any coverage due to any health reasons. Okay. Also, Marisa, everything is non-medical, which means you don't have to take any medical exam. And a lot of times with some of our participating carriers in these programs, you can get an answer instantly or within 72 hours, which is super convenient for you. Okay. Now, Marisa, are you still currently working, retired, or on disability?
I'm working.
Great. And are you receiving any other things like Social Security, pension? Sorry, my light went
Yeah,
low.
Social Security, I work part-time.
Okay, perfect. And then what would you say you bring in on a monthly basis, ballpark?
Probably about 2,500.
Okay, perfect. And then do you have anything that acts like life insurance, such as a 401k, savings, or CD, annuity?
Not at this time.
Okay. And now when you fill this out, you said you already have something in place, and you were just looking to leave a little extra, but as of right now, do you know if you want a traditional funeral or a cremation?
A traditional funeral.
Okay, cool. Well, now I'm going to ask you some questions that may give you some additional discounts. Are you a smoker or a non-smoker?
Non-smoker.
Great. And do you bank with a traditional bank like Chase or Bank of America, or do you have a credit union?
I bank with a commercial bank.
Okay, great. Which bank is that? Is that
Bank of
Chase?
America.
And the reason I ask it that way is because most of the time they'll tell you what bank they have. And then immediately when they tell you that bank, you know who their bank is. You can pull up the routing number. You can say they're already in our system, right? Because you're doing telesales, you want to buy credibility, right? So at that point in time, then you say, okay, great, that's one of the preferred banks. So you're definitely winning, right? You're going to get some of these additional discounts. And then I just go into medical underwriting. And I ask these questions. This is all on the inventory sheet. So I'm not going to go through all of them because I want to respect everybody's time. But as you can see, I'm asking these questions in this order. And then I kind of break the ice a little bit by saying, do you still have all your fingers and toes? Any amputations? They always laugh, right? Because I just asked a whole bunch of serious questions. So I just break the ice a little bit. The funny part is when people actually respond back and they say, actually, yeah, I do have, I can't wiggle them all. I do have a finger missing. And that has happened. So anyways, and then we say, do you have a list of all your prescribed medications? And then what about prescribed medications that you're not taking? So again, any brand new agent can come and read the script, and it doesn't sound like you're on the script. It's just very simple, basic. It sounds like it's your everyday job. I didn't call and say I'm a sales, that I'm a broker, that I can shop around rates. I didn't say none of that. I truly tried to make this sound like it was a state job, right? And I didn't really like it. This is just what I do every day, if that makes sense. And then this is really important here, right? For me, I always say, so now that I've got all your medications, I've got your financials, I kind of know where you're at as far as what you're looking for. Before I go into looking at the numbers, this is when I kind of remind them of why they're doing it, right? So then I say, okay, so, God forbid something happened to you, Marisa, what, or something happened to you tomorrow, who would I be writing out that check to? Like, who's the person that I'm gonna be that writing that check out to? And I make it sound like I'm the guy who's gonna come and write the check for the family, because what I've learned with life insurance is it's not a tangible product. So I made it sound on the phone like it's a tangible product, and I'm the guy who's gonna deliver the check to your family. So that's the psychology behind that.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
But
so
the beneficiary would be my sister, Christina.
Okay, so Christina is the person we're protecting. So obviously you want to make sure they're not left with the burden of all those final expenses. And then I remind them, right? You obviously don't want to have to pay out of pocket or do a GoFundMe, and I throw you extra stuff like cook plates, right? Try to sell food, car washes, because these are things we see every day. So I'm just reminding them that before I go into the numbers, right, why we're doing this. So that's the importance behind why we're doing this. And then I say, okay, perfect, Marisa. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter this into our system to see which carrier will offer you the best rates. And the reason I say that is because that's where I'm going to pull up insurance toolkits, right? So I put them on hold, and they'll stay on the line. They always stay on the line. I get the numbers.
Pablo, I want to pause you right there, if you don't mind. When you say you put them on hold, like, so for example, in home, right? Sometimes as a new agent, you might be nervous, like I can't get the quotes fast enough, or like it's been dead silence, right? And it's always like, it's not that big of a deal. You kind of just start asking random questions. I'll be like, what's your height and weight? Like, I'll freestyle it. So talk to us a little bit about why you felt like kind of like being able to put that person on hold is okay. Like the thought process behind it, which I believe it's okay too. I think it's great.
just posture, right? The way the script is the way the script is written out is designed to kind of make it look like I'm calling you because you filled this out. I'm going to explain what these programs are. I'm going to ask you some questions, and then I'm going to enter them into a system. And this is just my job. So if you're listening on the other side, you just think this is part of everyday routine. Like this is the same, the call happens like this for everybody. So people are used to holding. If you call for shopping around for any car insurance rates, any homeowners rates, anything you buy over the phone, they're always looking it up, or put you on hold. Can I put you on a brief hold? It's just call center etiquette, right? It's okay to say, hey, you can hold. I'll be right with you. People don't ever hang up. I've never had anybody hang up while I had them on hold, ever, once. And we used to do that at call centers all the time, right? It's part of the process. It's just phone etiquette. So all I'm bringing is the mentality of the call center world to life insurance with this script.
Love it.
Right? So when I tell someone, hey, I'm going to put you on a brief hold, that's because I also want to buy myself a little bit of time. And I'll tell them sometimes if I feel like they're a little antsy, I'll let them know it's going to take about 60 seconds or so, 2 minutes. Give me 2 minutes. Okay, I can wait 2 minutes. I'm not saying give me 10 minutes, right? I don't say nothing like that. I always act as if on the phone. I act as this is my everyday job that I do from 9 to 5, and that this is the script that I was given from my employer, and that this is what I have to read, and this is how we follow protocol. And they don't know any different. None of them know any different. Right? They just, okay, I'll hold. Never had that problem. So then we go into the pitch, right? So when I come back, I say, okay, Marisa, can you do me a huge favor? Can you do me a favor and grab a pen and paper? And I'll make sure they say, okay. And they always do, right? People need to be told what to do. We've been told what to do since we were kids. So they're already wired to do whatever you say, believe it or not. That's just psychology, right? We've been in school, work, everything. So can you do me a favor, grab a pen and paper? And then I say, I'm going to give you 3 options to write down. So I'm going to get 10,000, 15,000, and 20,000. And then underneath 10,000, it's going to be $69 a month. Underneath 15,000, it's going to be $95 a month. And under 20,000 is going to be $115 a month. Now, Marisa, out of these 3 options, which one do you feel makes the most sense for you and is comfortable where you don't have to choose between your light bill and your insurance bill?
I love that. Option B, the second one.
Perfect. Okay. So here's the next step, right? How does your name appear on your driver's license? Because we're going to go ahead and submit an application. I don't even say the name of the carrier. The reason I don't say the name of the carrier is because sometimes you'll shoot yourself in the foot when you say you think they're going to qualify with like Mutual of Omaha, right? Because they're always the cheapest, or Transamerica. They're one of the cheaper ones. And then they don't qualify, and then you gotta backpedal and go somewhere else and pivot, right? So I just say, okay, so what the insurance company is going to ask for is how your name appears on your driver's license, right? We're going to need your Social Security, because when you pass away, they do verify that information with the Social Security Administration, because obviously they're not cutting no checks no more, right? And they always say, oh yeah, that makes sense, right? And then we're also going to need your banking information, right? And they say, okay, that's it. But there's no pushback. At that point in time, I've eliminated almost everything on here. And those 3 things, I don't ask, do you feel comfortable? I mean, I have asked that in some cases, and sometimes they're like, I don't feel comfortable, so I just stopped asking that. Sometimes it does come out because of habit, but I don't like to ask that question, because you're giving them an out. I just assume this is normal, buddy. This is everyday process. This is how things work, Marisa. This is how it is every day. And insurance companies, they're going to ask you this information. And if they ever give any pushback with the checking information, I always ask, have you ever bought car insurance? They'll always say, yeah. You had to give your information over the phone in order for that to happen. You need to give your driver's license number. They ask you for your Social Security, and they ask you for 6 months worth of payments, or they give you 3 months worth of payments, and you got to pay that up front. Right? Oh yeah, it's the same thing. There's nothing different. Objections are not that hard. Right here with this script, it kind of eliminates a lot of stuff. Most people's number one concern is that they're going to get denied due to health reasons, because they've probably been denied elsewhere. Or it was whatever they were pitched, it was too expensive. But you have options, because we're brokers and we have contracts with a lot of carriers. And we can genuinely shop around and take just about anybody. We can take 98% of the population, regardless of what medications they're on, right?
That's huge. And, from the beginning to the pitch, you're just, the way you're talking, like you said, it's like that you're at a call center, you're just doing your job, picking the phone up, reading the script you have to read. And in reality, when we treat it that way, that's what it's going to sound like, right? If we're nervous and we're like, oh my God, they're going to freak out when I ask for the bank, they're going to freak out when you ask for the bank. But like Pablo said, if you're just following this script right here that like I'm looking at, it's very matter of fact, it's very nonchalant, it's not in your face, it's not intimidating, it's not we're going to submit the request for coverage in the first line. It's very, this is what it is, this is what it does, this is what the process looks like, and we're going to go ahead and pick one and we're going to get it done. And I'm going to move to my next person because that's my job, right? So I think that that's really important because that's the stance behind it. And Pablo, even being on FFL home office and on dial team, it's like I hear this exact script, like the exact words, like, so it's funny because it's like you see Jonathan closing and it's like, well, I'm not confused, right? Like this script works, right? So I love this. It's amazing. Thank you for sharing.
And I think most new people can read it and not fumble it, because I have new agents that come into my office here, and I have a new agent. His name's Keegan, and at first I had him working some veteran final expense leads, and then I said, hey, instead of approaching it from a veteran standpoint, just approach it as a regular final expense. And he's working like 6-month-old final expense leads. And in the last couple of weeks, he's sold like 4 or 5 policies using this script. But it's really just a matter of him being repetitive with it, getting familiar with it, because he's getting better and he's getting better and he's getting better. So, and I told him, I said, you can only imagine what you're going to sound like when you get a batch of leads that just came in. Like, dude, because by then you've sharpened that axe tremendously, right? And you're doing it on beat up old leads right now, and you're still being successful in selling and quoting people. And then the biggest objection that most people get is going to be the banking, right? The reason that I like to ask that question, especially with telesales, is the power of Google, right? So every time that someone gives me that objection, I'll say, well, let me see if since they're one of the preferred carriers, can you do me a favor, go grab your checkbook? And then I'll pull up Chase, Florida routing number, and I'll read, and I say, okay, well, listen, I know they're already in my system, so let me read back to you the routing number that's in our system, so you know that this is just part of the process. And I'll read back the routing number to them, and they'll be like, oh, how'd you get the routing number? They don't know, but it buys you credibility. It's all about credibility, and just my style is nonchalant. I'm not aggressive. Never been aggressive on the phone. I've never liked that approach. I don't like the car sales approach, because I've heard some agents that are very car salesy and they have a high chargeback. We're all about persistency, right? We want residual income. So we got to also make sure that we gauge our customers and our clients, and this is very laid back. I've never had anybody, my persistency is pretty high across the board with most carriers. I'm probably in selling insurance, like the last 8 years, I'm probably like at 83, 84%. I don't lose a lot of business. I get a lot of referral business also. And then once you sign these people up, the best part about it is asking for an additional person that, hey, does anybody else live in the household? Because you applied for this state regulated program, by extension, they're also eligible. Oh yeah. Stuff like that, man. It's just chill, man. Make it chill,
Right. That's awesome. And that's huge too, for asking for referrals through telesales. Like you're essentially just saying if the program's extended to you, so because you're a member, you get to refer others. I love that. And another thing that you were just kind of pointing out throughout that script was, again, it's just very matter of fact. It's not in your face, and anybody can pick it up and read it. One thing I do want to ask you, Pablo, is what are your expectations when you give that script to a new agent before they hit the phones? Like, what do you want to see of them, or what they're do? Like, what do you say? Like, here's the script. Do you have them run it?
Give them a script. I give them a script, and then it's 2 days, 3 days. First off, any new agent needs to go through a boot camp. The most important thing is going through a boot camp. Like if otherwise they have no clue what they're walking into. They must complete the boot camp and they got to show me the certificate. Once they do the certificate, I know that they've completed the boot camp. I'm going to send them my script. And then I say in 2 or 3 days, you're going to pitch me the script. You better have it kind of memorized, right? Because it is important for, number one, agents to understand all the types of leads we have, right? They need to understand the mindset, because I don't know what boot camp, you guys are using, but I use Stephen Yee's boot camp, and it's very thorough. It sets a lot of good expectations, because what I need people to understand is they're not going to come in here, get a batch of 100 leads and sell 98 of those. That's not the game, right? You're going to sell maybe 5% of that, right? I need you to understand these things before you even, and then when you come and pitch me, we call it a release presentation. They have to pitch me with the script. And if I feel like they sound very fluid on the phone, then it's okay for them to now, let's get you on the phone, on the calls and start doing it live, right? Because it's fluid already for them. So that's the expectation. Yeah. And we just started implementing that because, the thing about it is we have a lot of talented people coming through the pipeline, and because they're not really understanding what to expect, we're also losing a lot of talented people. So this is a better way to kind of gauge them, feel where they're at, monitor the behavior, see if they're coachable. Because if they don't go through the boot camp, if they don't memorize the script, they're not coachable. They're going to be a headache probably, right?
Right.
So this is this is my expectation, and I've been setting that now with a lot of the newer people coming on board.
I love that, because that's what the whole business is about. It's like if you can essentially memorize, whether it's your script, if you're in home, you memorize your process. It's the same thing. Like you do in telesales, you memorize the script that you use, you memorize the way that you say, if somebody objects to you on a social or on the bank, you have a very quick memory of, so it's not that death pause. That's what I call it, like that you're gonna get hung up on, because now people are looking at you like, is this a scam, right? Like you don't want people's heads to say, is this a scam? Like it's not a scam, guys, like not a scam. So we don't want to get there mentally. Yeah, this has been full of like a bunch of golden nuggets. This has been awesome, and I appreciate you sharing it with us, Pablo. And just to kind of wrap it up, what would you say, because we talked a little bit about this, you and I, what would you say is the most common like misconception of telesales versus in-home?
It's easy, right? The biggest misconception is everyone thinks that telesales is easy. It's not. I set the expectation also, because when I sit down with agents, especially the local ones that come into the office, my question to them is, are you okay with the 3-month learning curve? Because you're not going to come in and kill it if you have never experienced, you don't understand life insurance, you don't know the products, you don't know how to underwrite, you only have 10, 15 seconds to catch their attention. I'm not saying you're not going to sell in your first 30 days, but the learning curve to hit those big numbers that you see on YouTube, right? It's going to take a little bit longer. Or you can go in person and do it and smash through 100 appointments as fast as possible. But the goal over the phone is get through 100 presentations over the phone as fast as possible. Nothing changes with that. It's still 100 presentations. So, when I tell them, hey, five presentations with this script from top to bottom every day will get you a sell a day. So sometimes they're getting 3, sometimes they're getting 2. I understand, because they're also dialing aged leads. I'm not giving them fresh leads. Start with a batch of aged leads, but the goal is to get to 5. So, because you're doing it over the phone, it's easy to do 25 to 30 presentations a week versus driving around doing 25 or 30 presentations a week. But I just make sure that I tell people, telesales is a different animal. Right? If you go learn this business in person fast, you will learn how to transition to the phone much quicker, because you're going to see all the objections, all the medications. You're going to learn to underwrite so much quicker because people give you time and patience in person. Versus on the phone, you got 15 seconds, 20 seconds to catch their attention. If not, they're gone. If they don't like what they hear, they'll hang up on you. So, there's just a learning curve. I want to set that expectation too. And I give them the option, but everybody thinks, telesales is a sexier option. They see people making all this money from home. So they look at it like, wow, this is the best option to go because I can see myself doing. I'm like, yeah, but slow down, buddy. There's a learning curve to it, right? There is a learning curve. And I just make sure that here's the thing. I don't want to be deceitful to anybody. I want to be as honest as possible with everybody so that everybody understands what the expectations are. That's it.
Absolutely. And I love how you simplify that. You're like, you know what? Like, yeah, you can go in home if you want to, but if not, let's smash out those, 100 appointments on the phone to make sure that you get that experience in. So I love that. I love the 5 a day too, from top to bottom. You're gonna hit at least one, like you said, age lead. So love the process. Thank you so much for sharing. And before we hop off, Pablo, any last pieces of advice you would give to any agent on the call they could implement, today, right now, when we hop off this call?
Yes, you guys got a lot of players here. You guys got a lot of top producers, and I'm sure they got some pretty badass scripts, man. Follow the script, stick to the script, be coachable, because then it's easier for them to help you dissect where the problem is. So make sure you guys are plugging in with your squad. I love what you guys are doing.